if you are looking for some good curly haircut tips so you can get a cut that you actually like, then keep watching this video. I'm going to give you some great haircut preparation tips so that you know exactly what to ask for when you go see your stylist, a good way to find a curly hair specialist, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the different curl cutting techniques just very briefly so that you can be prepared and know what to ask for the next time you get your hair cut. Hi, I'm Delilah from the Holistic Enchilada, and on my channel I share tips and tricks to help anyone embrace their curls and keep things simple. You can sign up for my free Master Your Curls Quick Start Guide, which is a 5-day email course on my blog. I will link to it below. You can also find a bunch of other free resources on my blog and follow me on social media. I'm at Holistic Enchilada across all the platforms. I share a lot of tutorials on Instagram, so check me out on there. Oh, and I wanted to mention that I consulted Lori Kane, who is a curl specialist that works with me on my blog. Typically send her my blog posts or questions or things that I need to verify, and she will clarify, fix any errors, and just give me more guidance on things. So everything on my blog has actually been reviewed by her and tweaked and changed, and I've added things because she's the expert. She's the curly hair specialist. She's been doing curly hair for a long time. So all that to say, this isn't just coming from me. Like, this is invalid information that I have compiled from different resources that happen to include an actual hairstylist. So just wanted to let you know that before I get into all the details. So I'm splitting this video up into 3 sections: haircut tips for preparation, different curl cutting techniques, and how to find a good hairstylist that specializes in curly hair. So first up, let's talk about some haircut tips. The main thing, the biggest thing, is to be realistic with your expectations of what you can achieve with a good curly haircut. So number one, you need to know what you want. And this doesn't mean that you have to have a picture of exactly what you want your hair to look like. You just need to know what your needs are. So you need to be able to walk into the stylist and tell them that you want more volume or more definition, or you really want to keep the length, you're growing out your hair, or you want something that's low maintenance, or whatever it is that your needs are. You need to be very, very specific. One thing that I always recommend is to show visually where you want the length of your hair, like where you want it to end. So like I recently got a haircut, you can see it's a lot shorter. I told her exactly I want it to end right here. My hair was somewhere down here. So you point it out if you want it here, here. Don't say just take off 3 or 4 inches, because visually that can mean something different to you and your stylist. So I strongly recommend that you show exactly where you want your hair to fall, and especially with the layers. So I always tell her in the front I want them to fall somewhere around like the mouth area between my nose and my chin, like here in the beginning and like that. And then I just let her, since I go to a curl specialist, I tell her, you know, do whatever it is you need to do to give me a little bit more volume without making my hair look super thin. That's it. And she knows I don't care as much about definition. I will embrace the frizz. What I really want is volume and low maintenance. So I just tell her that, and then she, you know, does. But I'm pretty open-minded. I'm not the type of person that would get really upset if they experimented with my hair. I've had stylists who are like, oh, I want to try something new, and I'm like, sure, go ahead. Like, I know not everybody is like that. So the main thing is, though, that you want to be very clear about what your needs are for your hair. And you can go even further by taking photographs. But, and this is a big but, if you take photographs of what you would like to ideally have, the hair in those photographs must actually be the same type of hair that you have. So, for example, if I walked in with a picture of, let's say, oh, good example, Mains by Mel. Okay, everybody knows her. She's got a big YouTube channel with curly hair, Instagram, all that. She's got beautiful, big, tight curls, right? I love her hair. It's really big, it's tight coils. I always wanted to have curls like that. But if I walked in and showed my hairstylist a picture of her hair and said, can you make my hair look like that? She would probably laugh, because it's ridiculous. That's not my hair type. My hair is super fine. It's medium to low density. it's not that curly, it's more wavy curly. So you can't expect your stylist to transform your hair into something that it isn't. So I recommend that you browse Google and Pinterest. Pinterest has a lot more pictures of hair, I found, than on Google. But type in your hair type, like if you've got fine curly hair long or fine curly hair short hairstyles. If you've got really thick curly hair, then, you know, search for that. If you've got very tight coils, if you've got wavy hair, don't take pictures of big curly hair. If you've got wavy hair, it's not going to happen. You have to be realistic, and part of this is adjusting your expectations, because a lot of people come into the curly girl method journey, curly hair embracing situation, and they have their idea of like, I want my hair to look like this, and there's like a picture that they have of a certain curl type, and it's typically 3A, 3B. That's what it seems that everybody wants. Everybody wants to have those nice ringlets, but that's not achievable for most people. There are so many different curl types. You've got wavy, all the 2s, you've got 3s and 4s, and your hair will vary maybe between, if you're like a 2B, you can go to 2C down to 2A, but you're not going to jump to like 3B. That's just not realistic. So same if you've got like 4C hair, you can't really go and be like, I want 2C hair. Like, no, that's just not realistic. So you have to be much more realistic and adjust your expectations and really embrace what you've got. That's part of it. If you've got wavy hair, you're gonna have to embrace the fact that you have wavy hair. No stylist is gonna make your hair curly, unless they're using a curling wand. So really, a little bit of this and not walking out of your appointment like in tears is understanding your hair. So really, you should know your hair. And if you're not sure, ask your stylist. What do you think is capable with my hair? What do you recommend? What, you know, get their input. If you just don't know, you just show up and just like, I just don't know. I don't know my curl type. I don't know my porosity. I don't know anything. Do a consultation. So that's a little bit later on, but don't start your appointment, like a hair cutting appointment, without being very clear about what you want. So if you're not sure, if you Google the pictures and all, you're really not sure, do a consultation before you go in and tell them that you want a haircut. Moving on, layers are always a good idea for curly hair. How many layers you get really depends on your curl pattern and how much hair you have. So generally speaking, if you've got thicker, tighter curls, you can add more layers. If you've got thinner, finer, looser curls, then you want less layers. So my hair has very minimal layers. I want face framing and then just a couple of short ones, but most of my hair is cut to the same length, because if I have a lot of layers, it'll just look really stringy and sparse on the bottom, and I don't like that. So I need to bulk it up a little bit on the bottom. So I just do a couple of layers on top, not as much as I used to when I straightened my hair. So it's a little different. So that's, your stylist will tell you depending on what your needs are. But generally speaking, layers are usually a good idea with curls. Second is typically dry cutting works better. If you're gonna wear your hair straight often, or if you've got wavier versus curlier hair, like if you're 2A, 2B, you can get away with wet cutting your hair. But if you're wearing your hair curly consistently, I strongly suggest dry cutting, just because if you cut curly hair wet, when it dries, it's gonna be very uneven. And since you're cutting layers for the most part, you want the layers to fall naturally, and you want it to kind of create some type of balance. So if you're stretching them all out and cutting them, they're gonna be all over the place when they drop, because some curls, like, yeah, this one's nice and curled, but then I've got some other areas that are a little bit straighter, especially back here. They have like wonky curl patterns. So it's really important to cut it dry so that it's actually even when you wear it curly. And then understand that if you're gonna straighten your hair, you should probably do like a curling wand or something to make it a little wavy, because it's not going to be even when you straighten it. And then the last tip is to cut your hair regularly. Generally speaking, that is gonna be 12 to 16 weeks. If you've got a short haircut or something that is just more high maintenance, you may need to do it more often. And this is one of the things that you can ask. Maybe you have a certain hairstyle in mind and you tell them, I want this cut, but then you say, I want it low maintenance. Your stylist might tell you, well, that haircut is high maintenance. So you got to pick, do you want low maintenance or do you want that cut? So sometimes you may have to make a decision like that. But generally speaking, every 12 to 16 weeks. I only go twice a year. I should probably go more often, but I just don't. my hair is pretty healthy. I think that if you have a lot of damage, if you're color treating your hair, you probably have to go more often than somebody like me, who I don't do any treatments to my hair at all. It's been a year since I've colored it, straightened it, I haven't done anything to it. So it's just healthier. I don't have a lot of split ends. I don't deal with a lot of tangles like some people do. So keep that in mind. You know, part of that is the health of your hair. Earlier on in your curly hair journey, you may have to get it cut more often, but you can just go and get trims, which are a little bit cheaper than doing like a full cut, wash, and style. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, next part of the video is the technique. So the most popular curly cutting technique is the Diva cut. And that is a curl by curl face framing way of cutting curls. So it's a dry cut, and they will typically just go curl by curl, and they will cut, and sometimes they'll brush it out a little bit, but it's done on dry hair. And they are known for making these face framing type of waterfall technique. That's what kind of made them famous. So that's the most popular one. Second is the Rizzo cut. The Rizzo cut is typically better for tighter curls, and it creates more of a round shape than the Diva curl, than the Diva cut. And it's a more even length. So it's a little bit different, the cutting technique. And perhaps when you straighten your hair after getting a Rizzo cut, it wouldn't be as uneven as with a Diva cut. That is what the creator of the haircut has said. Not me, I didn't make that up. Nubia Suarez, I believe is her name. She said that. So it's a little bit different. Diva cut can be done on all curl types, wavy hair to super curly, whereas the Rizzo cut is better for tighter curls. I would say like type 3 and 4 curls. Then we have the Wedad cut, another really popular one. And this one's actually done wet. I've never had this one done, but I have some people that I know have had it done and they've been happy with it. So just depends on what your needs are. So this one's wet, and it's more of a shaping cut, and it generally removes the bulk from the side, so you don't have that triangle look that a lot of people with curly hair have if it's like all one length. So it's very similar to the other cutting techniques, it's just done wet. That's pretty much the only difference. They claim that it enhances the natural curl pattern, and it creates well-defined ringlets that fit gently into each other like puzzle pieces. That's their description on their website. Then we've got two other lesser known curly cutting techniques, and that is the tunnel cut and the Ricci cut. The Ricci cut I had heard of before, but not the tunnel cut. So I'm gonna read what I have on that. The tunnel cut is for bulky hair. Mainly it reduces bulk. So I'm imagining this is for people with really big hair, really tight curl patterns. You have a lot of hair and you're just reducing the bulk. Sounds kind of similar to Wedad. And then Ricci is also, both of these are done wet, I believe, the tunnel cut and the Ricci cut. And the Ricci cut is reduces weight of the hair. So they focus on the weight instead of the bulk, but I feel like that's the same thing. So the good thing is that you don't really have to understand what these different techniques are. I would just look for a stylist that is familiar with more than one. And then when they look at your hair, they can determine which type of cut is better suited for your hair. So you don't have to become an expert on all the cutting techniques and be like, I definitely want a Diva cut, because a lot of stylists will mix different parts of these different techniques to kind of create like a custom cutting technique for your hair. And that I find works better than just going to somebody who's like, I just do Diva cuts or I just do Wedad cuts, because that's a very narrow perspective to have when curls come in so many different shapes and sizes. And somebody that has type 2, type 3A curls, fine curls, for example, is gonna be very different from somebody who's got 3C or 4B type curls, which are usually much tighter, can be coarser, you know, high porosity, low porosity. There's all these different things to take into effect. So I prefer going to somebody who's got a little more rounded out education when it comes to curl cutting techniques and clients. But that is up to you. Okay, now let's talk about some tips to find a good curly hair stylist. In my group, and I often get messages like this too, people will tell me how difficult it is for them to find somebody who knows curly hair, or that they did go and see someone and it was expensive and they really weren't happy with the results that they got. So let me give you some tips on finding a good stylist and talk a little bit about that whole process. So When you're looking for a curly hairstylist, like I said, I wouldn't fixate on one specific cutting technique. I would just find somebody who knows curly hair. Some people have been trained in multiple different cutting techniques. Some have only been trained in one or two. Some people may be certified, some people may not be certified, but they've been doing this for 30 years. So it's really up to you which way you want to go. I like somebody who has some training and has a little bit of experience under their belt. So I'm not hung up on certifications. I think if somebody interned somewhere and they learned about it and they did it themselves, that's good enough for me. And those people might be a little cheaper. One of the biggest hurdles is the cost. So typically curl specialists are charging in excess of $100 per haircut. If you go into the big cities, it's gonna be like over $200. So it can get really expensive. So a couple of things you can do with that. Some stylists will offer, like the first time you see them, you have to pay that exorbitant price, and it's like the full thing. They cut your hair, they wash your hair, they style your hair. It's like a 2 or 3 hour event. They give you tons of tips. And I always recommend that everybody does this at least one time, because you get so much invaluable information about your hair, and you learn a lot of the things that you should be doing and things you shouldn't be doing. And it's really invaluable. Especially if you're struggling with your hair. That's like always, like if you tried this and that, like go see a curl specialist. That will solve probably all of your problems when it comes to your hair. But a lot of them will offer follow-ups at a much cheaper rate. So for example, the girl that I see, the follow-ups are a lot less than the initial visit, because I'm just coming in with my hair styled. She's cutting it and I'm leaving. She's not styling my hair. She's not washing my hair. She's not talking to me and educating. I mean, yeah, talking, but there's no educational aspect in that visit. I already got that the first time. I know how to style my hair. I don't need her to do that. I just need her to cut it. So it's like half the cost. So that is something that you can talk about. If your stylist doesn't offer it, talk to them about it, because it's half the time, maybe even less than that. And they can charge a little bit less, and that would help both of you out. Maybe they haven't even considered adding that service to their menu. So you can talk about it with them, and who knows, maybe they will work with you. And then you can go less often. So go for a low maintenance haircut that you don't have to go, you can go 2 or 3 times a year instead, like what I do. So on to finding a good curly hair specialist. So find somebody who has training. Any kind of curly hair training. Can be multiple different, they can be certified, not certified, but somebody who's been trained in at least one curl cutting technique is what you are looking for. Generally speaking, the more training they have, the longer they've been doing it, the more expensive it's gonna be. So it's up to you what you are willing to pay for the service. If you can find somebody who also happens to have curly hair, that's even better, because they know the struggle, they are so much more relatable. I think of the 3 curly hair specialists I've seen, 2 have had curly hair, 1 has not. The girl who didn't have curly hair still did a really good job on my hair. So I'm not saying don't see a curl specialist with straight hair. They are trained to do curly hair as well. But if they have curly hair, then and they're a curl specialist, then you know that they empathize with you and they know what you're going through. So they know what to say and all that. Look at their reviews, look at their portfolio, check them out on Google, on Facebook, on Instagram. I would not book with somebody who I could not see their work beforehand. So if they don't have like a social media profile somewhere where I can see some of the before and afters of their previous clients, I'm not gonna book with them. Or I can just book a consultation and talk to them, but I need to see work. I'm not just gonna book somebody who says that they do curly hair and where's the proof? Show me the proof. So look for somebody who's got a portfolio, look at their portfolio and see if you like what they're doing. You may not like the curl cutting techniques. Check out some of the before and afters. Maybe even though your friend recommended this person, you're looking at the before and afters and you're like, I don't really like the way that person is cutting hair. Find somebody else. Get recommendations from other curly haired people. I mean, that's an easy one. If you know somebody who has beautiful curly hair, ask them who does their hair. If it's a curl specialist, fantastic. It may or may not be. Sometimes people just go to regular hairstylists and are lucky. That's not the case for everybody with curly hair. Find a stylist who is communicative and willing to say no. So like I talked about at the beginning of the video, If you walked in with an unrealistic expectation, your stylist should be able to tell you, sorry, I cannot do that. And really that's a good thing, because you don't want to go in and show a picture of something that you want and then the stylist do something totally different and you're paying $100 and then you're gonna leave there probably in tears because you wasted a bunch of money, you hate the way it looks. You need to avoid that. So make sure that you do find somebody that will tell you the truth. Now, there are a couple of different places to find curly hair stylists. I know Diva Curl has a stylist finder, but you're only gonna find Diva Curl stylist people on there. WeDot has one too on their website. I recently created a curly hair stylist directory, and I did this because I wanted to kind of have all the curl cutting specialists in one place. So whether you're Ricci certified or Diva Curl certified or whatever technique, they're all in one place. So it's brand new. There's not a lot of many listings on there right now. I'm still trying to get the word out, but you can check it out and share it with your stylist. Next time you see your hairstylist, share it with your friends, your curly hair friends. Go in there and review. If you've been to one of the salons that's on there, go ahead and leave a review on there. I really want this to grow and be a helpful resource for the curly hair community, because I so could have used this like 10 years ago. Would have been so helpful to have. I visited a curly hair salon in Miami that I liked their work, but I could not stand their customer service. I didn't feel good in there, and it's a really popular curly hair salon. Some of you probably know what I'm talking about, and I don't want to badmouth them because they do good work. I had a bad experience with them customer service wise, and it wasn't an isolated incident. Multiple times a similar situation happened with a friend. So although I do recommend them, you know, that's somewhere where I can write a review on there and say, hey, I like the way my hair came out, but the service was terrible, you know, and be a little more specific. And that way other people who are looking can see and be like, yeah, I kind of for that price would like a little bit better service, or I don't care, that's fine, I just want a haircut. You know, it'll just also help you find somebody in your price range and somebody that's near, because there are not curl specialists everywhere. I know some people will drive 2 or 3 hours to find one. They are popping up more and more. So my goal is to have this directory full of hairstylists, and it's worldwide, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. So all over the world, it works worldwide. So I would love for that to grow. I'm gonna link to that in the description below as well. Okay, so those are my top tips for getting a good curly haircut that you will actually love. Let me know about your experiences with curly haircuts in the comments, and please share the directory as well so that I can get this thing going. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.